Have you ever been stalked by a narcissist? Now, I don't think all narcissists do this, but in my experience, I'm nearly 70 years old. I've learned a thing or two by being around narcissists, being exposed to them, and being victimized and abused by them. So the reason I do these videos is I just want to share with you some of those things I've learned over the decades. And one of those things I've learned is that there are some narcissists who will stalk you. They don't want to let you go. Now, there is a concept called the final discard. That's where the narcissist has sucked all the air supply out of you and there's nothing else to get. So they're done with you. Well, maybe not. Because I've noticed that some narcissists, even though they discard you, they still follow you around. They're still obsessed with you and what you are doing. And that is reason number one. They are obsessed. They have an obsession with you. Now, sometimes I find, and again, this is not universal, but I find that sometimes that a narcissist may actually be envious of you and they want to be like you. I don't know how prevalent this is, but I recall years ago, maybe, I don't know, 30, 35 years ago when I was a pastor of a church, we had a guy in the church who wanted to have his own church. Well, I don't care if that's what he wants to do. That's his business, not mine. But I didn't realize that the reason he wanted to do that was because he wanted to be like me. Thought didn't even enter my mind. But there were some other telltale signs that came along. For example, there was this wonderful older couple who had a Cadillac. They didn't give it to me, but they had it fixed and repaired and put in nearly mint condition, and they sold it to me at a very reasonable price. So this guy who was in my church, he actually split the church, by the way, but it wasn't long before, guess what? He was driving around in a Cadillac. And his story was that there was this older couple that sold it to him at a very good price. That's weird. But then, we moved into a suburban community, and it wasn't long thereafter, the same guy, guess what? He started shopping for a house in our neighborhood, or near to it, on the same side of town. And I started a business which turned out to be fairly successful, and he started a business, and last I heard, it just collapsed. He didn't really know what he was doing. Now, was this guy trying to copy me? Was he trying to vicariously live my life in himself? Well, I don't know that for certain, but it seems like there was this warped sense of admiration. I don't know why. I was fat and ugly and didn't have much of a personality, but still, it appears that he was trying to duplicate my life in himself. So he would, in that sense, try to stalk me. All right, what about number two, which is envy? That basically is the same thing. That people want to have your traits. They want to have your success. They want to be as much like you as they possibly can. This is, they're just jealous. I recall when I was in college, we had several guys in the same dorm room that year. Call it a dorm room. It was actually a barn. This was a new college. They were just starting out second year, and we were in the small barn, which was converted into living quarters. And it was kind of Spartan, but, it was nice. It was heated, had a restroom, had lights. That's pretty much it. But late at night, everybody in bed, starting to sleep, and this guy comes over. I was just about to go to sleep, and he tapped me. So what? What do you want? I didn't say what do you want, but he said, I just want to apologize to you that, he said, the reason I am mistreating you is because I am jealous of you. I was taken back. Why would anybody be jealous of me? I got to be the weirdest guy in the world. Why anybody would want to be like me, I can't imagine. But people are like that. And guess what? I told him, look, don't worry about it. We're okay. We're good. And that was the end of it. But the odd thing was everybody in the dorm room. And I'm guessing there may have been 10 or 12 of us. they all heard that. And, they kind of learned a lesson, I think. Maybe not. But I thought that was very kind, very considerate. But there are people out there who are envious of you, but they're not going to tell you. What they will do is they will try to hurt you. Now, I think a narcissist, by and large, is envious of his or her victims. Always? Probably not, but they need supply. They see in you something they don't have for themselves. And by dominating you, by fooling you, by tricking you, by conning you, they are sucking the lifeblood out of you in their twisted way of thinking. And like vampires, they're sucking it into themselves. And so they have self-esteem that they took from you, the way they think. Well, the problem is that they're never satisfied. And so they continuously, these people that I've met spend their entire lives, well into their 70s, and they don't stop. It's like they cannot stop because that's the way they are biologically put together. Number 3, the reason they stalk you is because they just want to get your attention. It's another way of getting supply out of you, another way of abusing you. It's another way of controlling you and their warped way of thinking. I knew a narcissist. I've talked about this situation before. But his way of getting attention of people that he had abused is after he discarded them, after he had screwed them over big time. Then when he would see them out and about in public, he would parade back and forth in front of them, as if to say, I screwed you over, and there's nothing you can do about it. And here I am. I'm so proud of myself of what I did. Go ahead, try to do something about it. And I would see him do that. This is before I realized he was a narcissist, before I was discarded by this guy. But after I was discarded, he did the same thing to me. And it was just weird. It was just odd that he would do this. That is called, by the way, there's a term for that, and it's called Duper Delight. After they dupe somebody, they're just thrilled, and they want you to know that they got away with it. Number 4 is they want to stalk you for intimidation. They don't want you to cut the strings. You are their puppet. And when you cut the strings and you build barriers and you're getting away from this guy, he wants or she wants to imagine that those strings are still attached. So they are going to reach out and attach to you. Kind of like Spider-Man, he sends out his little web or whatever and attaches to something. I think that's kind of analogous to how a narcissist thinks. He zaps you with his spider web and tries to draw you back in. That's the string. At least that seems to be the way that he is thinking. Even though you cut the strings, you got away from him, he's saying by stalking you and intimidating you that he is still or she is still in control of you. Now, sometimes they do this through proxies. Most people call them flying monkeys. I call them agents or proxies, but they will send people out, even though the narcissist may not personally be in your presence. They will send these flying monkeys to be in your presence. That's a way of intimidating you, to let you know, hey, you thought you got away from me? No, you didn't. See, I got all these flying monkeys that I recruited. Some of them were your former friends. In fact, many of them were your former friends that I convinced that you were the bad guy. This is the way the narcissist is thinking. And so they are stalking you as proxies for the narcissist. So that is a form of intimidation. Number 5, what I call false supply, F-A-U-X, false or fake supply. They just don't want to let you go because to let you go is to admit defeat. And one thing a narcissist doesn't want to do is lose, ever. Because for a narcissist to lose is to have to admit that he or she is less than perfect. I think that is why many narcissists, but not all of them, but many narcissists, covert narcissists, don't like to pay the bills. They don't like to pay the rent. They don't like to, they like to write checks and with no money in their account. They want to take something from somebody else because to do otherwise is to admit defeat. That's weird. I mean, that's just odd thinking. But to pay a bill that you owe is, in their way of thinking, an admission of defeat. Now, if you're a normal person, which I assume you are, neurotypical, you don't draw any connection at all between paying a bill and being defeated. But these guys, some of them, that's exactly how they think, and it's odd, and that's why many of them wind up in jail. They just don't have that moral stability. They don't draw the connection. Now, to me, just the opposite is true, and I think that's probably true of you as well, that defeat is not when you pay your bill, but defeat is when you don't pay your bill. It's kind of like saying, I'm a deadbeat, or kind of like saying, I don't have the money. I feel defeated. I love to pay my bills. I love to be current as I possibly can. I pay my credit card bills every single week without missing. And I think a lot of people, probably you, do the same thing. Narcissists, just the opposite. Well, the sixth reason they stalk you is it could be they're trying to draw you back into their circle of influence. That's called hoovering, by the way. And the term hoovering, from what I understand, that's one of those terms I really don't like, but people use it. They know what it means, so I use it too. But it's like a Hoover vacuum cleaner. Why didn't you just call it vacuuming? Okay, hoovering sounds better. It's easier to say. But they're trying to suck you back into their influence, into their hoover, into their control. So sometimes they will stalk you, and they're trying to get your attention, so maybe, because they've lost their supply, so maybe they can get you back in their chicken coop, or you can continue to supply them with eggs. Do you see those two rectangles on the screen? If you like what you've heard and you want to keep on talking, well, let's keep the discussion going. All you got to do is click on one of those two rectangles, and yeah, we just keep on chatting. If not, okay, thanks for stopping by, and we see y'all later.